Get to the hard facts, Jonathan. Let's get to it.
The hard facts.
Welcome back, Strange Casino crews that have stuck with us on this lovely morning here. Appreciate it, or evening or afternoon, whenever you find yourself
Could be anytime.
It's record labels. They've always been huge.
It's true.
But they are more huger now.
Huger.
They're the more hugerist.
Yes.
That's not a word.
Could be.
No. But there's talks, like there's some people calling for, like, this happens every few years, like there should be a breakup of the labels. And I'm always like, oh, whatever, let the companies be themselves. And then I was like, well, maybe they have gotten a little bit too big. It's a little scary. Once, because we start breaking down the stats and the facts on this stuff.
I think it should be one mono label. And it just beams the music it wants us to hear into our head.
I mean, that's kind of universal right now. It's
no thought required, just, they pick the soundtrack for your life.
I think Universal does that. And then there's Sony, and then you got Warner Brothers. Those are the three sort of majors. They represent 2/3 of all music that you hear. Just those three labels. So like the indies are just these small little things. A lot of young folks you're digesting stuff off of TikTok and more like, independent labels, awesome as well. The scary thing is a lot of these majors own those labels you think are smaller labels. Like if we're talking Universal, they obviously own like Def Jam, Capitol, Interscope, Republic.
Right.
And they're not indie labels, but they're
what you think of as sort of smaller, artist friendly, maybe.
And Sony has like RCA and some of the other sort of divisions within that.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, and then they own indie labels within that sort of world. It's just
the tendrils, they go deep. Yeah.
It is. So it's grown, and it's hard to hear anything else without being told what to listen to now.
I mean, I think it's been, honestly, realistically, and people will probably say, no, you're wrong, but I mean, it's been years, probably a decade since anyone has heard anything that they weren't told. I mean, it's so cultivated now, and it's such a machine. When we're talking about like major radio or major labels, it's such a machine of what they've decided that you want to hear and what your demographic is and all that stuff. It's hard to imagine many organic things anymore.
Well, and it's always been like, there's been payola since the beginning of time, since
the
50s and rock and roll and whatnot. And then there weren't really any major labels until the 60s when they all sort of formed. There's lots of labels, but they weren't like, people just didn't know what they were doing yet.
Sure.
Like, let's pay the radio DJ. So there's no more payola.
No, tell me.
But now, I mean, there is payola because all the money's on streaming now. So the major labels, on average, make about, $1 million an hour streaming. So each one of these labels are making,
moderate fee.
Few thousands, like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
$1 million an hour, not a day.
An hour.
Not a week, not a month, an hour.
That is the streaming that they're making alone. Now this is like...
Luckily, they're letting all that trickle down to the artists. The artists are totally getting paid tons of money.
And that's what sort of spurred this conversation, because that's not true.
That's not true.
So and we've talked a little bit about it before, but the relationship with the artist and the label is sort of the nightmare situations, as it often is. The label with the streaming has a pretty good sort of game going on. They figured it out, like, hey, we need to lock in good. So the label's getting paid, but the relationships with the artist are very different. Because your average artist streaming per annum makes $25.
$25.
The top 7 artists streaming for Spotify alone make about $500,000.
For a year.
Which is not that much money compared to the old days of CD sales.
When you first hear it, you're like, okay, that's all right. And then you realize, no, it's not.
Because it's always been like on a record sale, like 70% of that money usually goes back to the label, and then it's dispersed to the artist, regardless, depending on what your relationship is. But now the other 30% was spent on like other aspects of the marketing and things. Yeah. But now 30% of the 100% goes straight to Spotify. So they sort of own a dramatically large share of the monetary value of music we listen to.
It's kind of crazy.
That's a lot.
And that's a lot.
It's pretty impressive.
I mean, it is impressive.
These cats that started this like sort of small business, and it's just like it's become a monolith.
Evil geniuses.
Well, we're talking about $1 million an hour. It's that's like an indie label that could be their entire, profits for the entire year.
Yes,
if they're lucky.
Right.
Like it's to have that. It's I don't even know like if there's like a situation like can you break these things up a little bit or?
I mean, what would that look like? I know the article we were looking at said, hey, bust the trust, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, well, how would that play out?
I mean, you'd have lots of smaller, labels all sort of fighting for the same. I don't know. I feel like it might have a more of a parity of a fairness maybe of who we hear. It's just that we've talked about TikTok and stuff before, but that is like really 25 and under. That is the majority where they hear their new music now.
And I'm still sort of like, I feel like it's still iffy, like how you monetize that on TikTok. It also seems like, you get huge and then you're gone. It's very flash in the pan, very quick.
For some of them. But I mean, it is. It's like, but the ones that really do hit it, like some of these cats got like 2 billion views, like billion. And it's different than YouTube algorithmically. That's a lot of people's eyes on you.
Is there any push from the labels in the TikTok? I mean, I've still never actually been on TikTok. So is there any push from the labels in the TikTok world? Like, are there labels pushing artists on TikTok?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
100%. That's like that's the thing right now. It's like, I mean, we've seen even guitar manufacturers are heavily trying to get in there, and a lot of people quit because it's hard. Because manufacturers don't, because they have money and they have people that they hire to do this, and so they want to make sure they capture that youth before they have established themselves as a brand, ally.
Gotcha.
Which is what a lot of people will do. Like, you're either in the Xbox camp or the PlayStation camp, or you're in. I sort of straddle between the two. I'm like Switzerland, more on the side of one. I'm not going to say which one. But if you know anything about me, you know which one it is, because I used to play the game competitively. I'm not going to talk about it though.
I feel like we all know.
Shh. There's now what Spotify and these services have figured out too is how to like your percentage of what you make is pretty low already.
Right.
Like your stream value. I mean,
sure.
Like, you don't make $500,000 a year streaming.
I think I'm a few dollars over the $25 a year average. The low. Not many, mind you, but
That makes me happy.
Yeah.
No, but they figured out ways to where you can give up some of those points. Now it's kind of like Reverb does. Like, hey, you can like bump it. It's pretty much a bump. You can bump your views. So like, hey, like I'm gonna give up 5%. I'm gonna give up. But Spotify's I'm gonna give up 25% to 50% of my streaming fees, just so it might get in front of more eyes. Which makes a lot of sense.
Dozens of eyes.
Dozens.
Ears. Dozens of ears.
That's funny. Didn't think about it. We're not even talking about eyes, are we?
No. Same thing.
So it's a tricky new world, and it's like, how much are we willing to give away before the artist can't give anything away? But we're all willing to. Every artist, even myself when I was a young cat trying to come up and do this, like, you just want to get heard.
You just want to,
So here, take it all, and then like but then this corporation's taking it all, and it's kind of it's out of a bummer.
It's a tricky thing. And I mean, like, when I think about putting things on Spotify, the idea of like making money never crosses my brain. It's literally just to put it out there in the world, and to say, hey, maybe I'll book a gig or two because I can put it on my link tree. But I mean, that's really it.
That's a healthy, realistic expectation. Because we do meet lots of young cats that are like, oh, I want to make sure I'm getting this percent. I'm like, bro, you're not going to make any money. Like, no one has ever heard you. You play at the bar down the street. Like,
I've never even taken my money out of DistroKid. It's so little money. I just like to open it.
Saving that $30 for a rainy day.
Right. Oh, look, my balance is $43.
Honey, we are rich.
Cool.
We can go out to Chuck E. Cheese's tonight.
Have you been to Chuck E. Cheese lately?
I have not.
It's not $43.
Is it expensive?
Yes. By the time you buy like the little, it's not tokens anymore, by the way. It's the little
card.
It's a card. Your kids swipe their card, which is weird.
Yeah, I've not taken my kids to Chuck E. Cheese's, and I don't really plan on doing that ever. I don't want them to know about.
We're a little more redneck, so we. I'm not gonna say we frequent the Chuck E. Cheese.
I don't think it's redneck. I think that's a little bit luxurious.
Kind of it is.
To let them know that exists.
Every now and again, we just go to Florence and go to Chuck E. Cheese. And the Target. We go to Target and Chuck E. Cheese.
I thought you meant Italy. I was like, man, I didn't know you went to Italy like every once in a while. That's impressive. Jonathan's an international traveler with his family. They tell me, we love your accent. And we yep.
Hey, y'all.
How y'all doing? Y'all got free refills on this wine? They pretty much do in Italy. It's cheap enough.
Just there. Good old table wine.
No, so let us know your thoughts and what you think. Like, is it a chance that we need to break this stuff up, or does it really matter? Does it affect you at all? Do you care? I mean, I don't know. Some people might not care at all. They just want to get their music. I actively am always seeking out new music.
Yes.
Which all of the other people that work here that are over 35 are like amazed. They're like, well, how does Baxter know? Like, all these like people that are doing collabs with like Justin Bieber and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, because I try to stay on top of it, but I'm probably being tricked by the algorithm.
But see, I think that's where maybe people should care. Like, do you want to hear the new collab with Justin Bieber, which obviously has been sort of fed to you, or do you want to hear some great new band from nowhere, Ohio, who is amazing?
Or from Norway.
From Norway.
I'm listening to a lot of Norwegian and Scandinavian music right now.
For sure.
I can't pronounce the names, but that's sort of. But I actively search new music all the time.
So there you go.
And I'm from the Faroe Islands. I like the music from there too. So it's a lot of those artists. So check that out. Get on. That's a good Spotify list. You can go look at some of the Faroe Islands type of playlists, and it's just something different to sort of shake up your regular.
And Spotify has been good for that.
And like that a side note, like it was one of the Joe Rogan podcasts when the Black Keys were on there.
Okay.
And they talked about how Spotify never pays the royalties out to people.
Yep.
How crazy it is, because like the big artist will get like a set fee from Spotify, no matter if their stuff's played or no matter if you play. Like if I'm listening to the Black Keys aren't getting paid necessarily. It's weird how it works.
Is that because they just want them on Spotify to be able to say?
It's just strange how they're still going to pay like the artist of a certain label get a set fee. I don't like it. I might be wrong there, but just check out that when they're talking about the payouts on the Joe Rogan show if you're young. It's fascinating. That's one of my favorite episodes of a podcast I've seen in a while.
There you go.
3 year old.
Yeah.
I'm out. I'm done.
Well, that's it. We're done. Let us know what you guys think. Does it matter? Should we break up record labels? How long would it last? I don't know that it would take, so we'll see. Interested to read what you guys think. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell so you don't miss these riveting discussions in the future. We'll see you next time. Thanks for hanging out with us.